A demolition of dams. Unearthing a 100-year history of toxic algae, thousands of dead salmon, and new concerns over how to fight wildfires, all part of the long battle to bring nature back to the Pacific Northwest.
Restoration of over 2,000 acres of land.
California is saying it's the largest river restoration project in American history. Now, a rebirth is finally taking shape.
It represents a future for our people, for kids and grandkids and generations to come.
The lifeblood that once empowered the beautiful banks of the renowned Klamath River was all but lost for more than 100 years, slowly but surely flowing again.
There was a time when I didn't think I'd see this day.
Leif Hillman is a member of the Karuk tribe, who for generations has been fighting for something many say is vital, removing a damaging blockade of dams.
I've spent the better part of my adult life working to remove dams on the Klamath River.
According to NOAA, for thousands of years, this was one of the largest salmon-producing rivers on the West Coast, fueling several economies of indigenous communities. But at the turn of the 20th century, a private power company, with federal permission, installed 4 monstrous dams, fracturing the iconic waterway spanning from Oregon through California. The dams initially powered surrounding communities, including burgeoning lumber mills, but have since become obsolete aging structures. And in the stagnant water reservoirs created by the dams bloom toxic algae.
We were the first to discover this toxic algae.
The salmon were decimated. The nonprofit in charge of the project, the Klamath River Renewal Corporation, estimates more than 90% of the native salmon species has been lost since the dams were installed. In 2002, 34 to 70,000 fish were killed almost all at once.
The toxic algae was in the reservoirs. So if these dams were kept in place, the fish had a real likelihood of going extinct in this watershed.
Dam removal in the U.S. is at an all-time high. Over 2,100 dams have been removed since 1912, with nearly half happening in the last decade.
River people stand tall. The dams are gonna fall.
Tribal elders, scholars, and young activists uniting in protest for decades. But there are some pain points. With wildfire season ongoing, losing reservoirs created by the dams impacts the way wildfires are fought in the region. Klamath River Renewal Corporation CEO Mark Bransom has dedicated years to finding some creative solutions, like helping to build a network of remote sensing cameras and better access points.
So they have the ability to dip water from the river or to drive right down to the river's edge to fill water trucks, and that will really help replace the loss of the reservoirs as a wildfire fighting water source.
The Yurok tribe is also hand-planting 8.5 tons of native seeds and plans to keep going for the next 3 years, all while the fish are expected to usher in a new generation.
This year, we'll start to see adult Chinook and coho moving upstream, but it'll really be 2 to 3 generations before we see sustainable populations being established in those tributaries.
My kids will be telling a different story. It's not going to be a story of continued decline. It's going to be a story of actually recovery and regaining the abundance that we once enjoyed.
A renaissance of water, returning the river's sacred right back to an uninhibited freedom.
NBC Steve Patterson joins me now. Steve, first of all, great job. What a great story and so important. So when will the dam removal be expected to be finished?
So the CEO of the project says that this should all be done, and when he means all be done, he means all be done by October. The dam completely removed. There shouldn't be a sign of a speck of any equipment or even a piece of dirt that you saw there behind them. This should be a completely free-flowing river like it was for hundreds of years come October or November. Now, what does that mean for necessarily the wildlife coming back? That's sort of a different answer. It could take generations for like the salmon to repopulate, for the vegetation to grow back after all the work they've done planting it. That's not going to be us. That's not going to be our children. It may be our children's children before we see the results. But the groundwork being laid and this taking down the dams, such an essential part of it. Tom?
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.